Hello folks and welcome to the weekend warm-up with me, Buxton. I am delighted to be joined by Rosanna Tennant and Jolyon Palmer here in Saudi Arabia. Guys, it's round two, a very exciting first weekend in Bahrain.
Yeah, it was a great way to kick things off. I think we'd all been chatting about who was sandbagging, who had really shown pace, and then we all found out what was really going on, or did we? Because then it all kind of came unravelled, didn't it, at the Bahrain Grand Prix in the last few laps?
It did. Ferrari, obviously, 1-2 in the race. Charles Leclerc with the extra point for fastest lap as well, and a championship lead, and I think we can say thoroughly deserved.
Yeah, really. The perfect weekend from Charles, from Ferrari, the 1-2. Red Bull scoring nothing as well. Mercedes on the back foot. Ferrari ticked all the boxes and come here very, very happy.
It's fair to say Mercedes were lucky in as much as Red Bull were unlucky, I think, for the last race.
Yeah, of course. I think people will say, well, they just lucked out because the two Red Bulls didn't finish. But often we say you've just got to finish the race, and that's part of the whole thing of Formula One. You've got to get to the end to score the points, and reliability is a huge point this year, and if you've built a reliable car, you could be someone who scoops up a load of points.
And that's not luck. Reliability is
hard work.
Hard graft, hard work. Talking about hard work, Jolyon, a lot of other stories from Bahrain, so of course we have to set you the unenviable task of wrapping up the entire race in 90 seconds. Are you ready, Rosanna?
I'm ready.
The watch ready.
Oh, let's go for it.
On your marks, get set, go.
Front row, Charles Leclerc alongside Max Verstappen, and that's the start of a titanic scrap that really takes place after the first pit stop. 3 times Max Verstappen overtook Leclerc at turn 1, 3 times Leclerc got him back into turn 4. From then on, looked like he was going to be unopposed in the race lead and the race win, which he got. Carlos Sainz, though, came through for a second place because Max Verstappen and his Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez had reliability issues, maybe a fuel pump failure on both cars. So Leclerc won, Sainz second in that 1-2. Third, Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes, out of nowhere, gets onto the podium because Sergio Perez's last lap retirement. And the standout stories, Kevin Magnussen 5th in the Haas, and Valtteri Bottas back to some good points with 6th in the Alfa Romeo.
Doesn't even need 90 seconds. That's
47.
47.
I told you I'd do it quickly.
You said 30.
I overran.
You did. Now look, we've mentioned obviously Ferrari, who had looked fantastic in pre-season testing. We thought Red Bull had the upper hand on them. It didn't prove to be that way, either in qualifying or the race. We've seen the onboard replays as well of Charles, obviously using all the battery out of the final corner just to keep Max at bay down the straight, but never shifting out of 7th, just kind of dangling that little carrot in front of him. Go on, you go by, makes the move, and then Charles has got the grip, he's got the power coming out of turns 1 and 2, blast past him, DRS, little snatch of 8th on the way to turn 4. It was beautiful racecraft.
It was really well managed, but it was just all the time on the precipice of losing the race lead, which he was sort of purposefully giving up. And that was the fascinating thing for me, the tactical battle of Leclerc and Verstappen. But so often we see, battle for the lead, and we saw it with Lewis and Max so many times last year. Elbows out, all guns blazing, dive to the apex and see who can win it. This is a new style of wheel-to-wheel combat, really.
Thoughtful.
It's the thinking man's driver, Charles Leclerc, allowing Max through into the lead, picking up the DRS and getting him back at turn 4. And I don't think Max cottoned on. And in the end, the third time was once too many. He locked up and that was the end of the major challenge. So I think Charles did a great job, but Max isn't going to make the same mistake again here, I don't think.
No. Well, we will see. What's fascinating, Rosanna, coming out of that first weekend, looking at the trackside photos, Ferrari and Red Bull able to run their car very, very close to the ground. Mercedes ride height so much higher. We know that was causing them issues. They were, however, a good news story coming out of there because with the result they picked up, an unexpected podium, and with Red Bull not scoring points, I think even they know that was a result they weren't expecting.
Yeah, definitely. I said to George Russell at the end of the race, if I'd said you guys are going to pick up P3 and P4 coming into this weekend, you'd have taken it. You've bitten my hand off for it. I think there's work to do for Mercedes. I think it's going to take quite a long time. It's not something that can be fixed straight away. They were lucky last weekend to take the big haul, but I think it'll be a few races until we see a revised concept. We heard Toto Wolff talking about how it was a build issue, and Lewis as well backing that up. So it'll take some time for them to bring those parts. They're basically missing a lot of parts. I think they were overwinged. You'll be able to explain it a little bit more, Jolyon, but they were overwinged, and I think that's something that they'll be trying to fight with in the coming races.
Yeah, because we're not sure how powerful that power unit is, as Rosanna says, because they were overwinged.
Yeah, they're running a very chunky rear wing. They've got a lot of downforce on the maximum downforce rear wing, but it's quite draggy, and so they're slow on the straights. the question is, are they slow on the straights because of the rear wing? Are they slow on the straights because of the engine power? And that's what I don't think even they know at this stage. We can all see that the Mercedes powered cars are towards the back of the field. The Ferrari powered cars are at the front, and I mean the customer teams with Haas and Alfa Romeo, and then you've got McLaren, Aston Martin and Williams. They're at different ends. But is that a coincidence, or is it that the power's just not there for Mercedes?
Is there such a thing as a coincidence in Formula One?
Yeah.
Arguably not. Red Bull, we've got to touch on them very, very quickly. Obviously, fast all the way through the weekend. Looked phenomenal, fighting for the win. Not a fuel pump issue, though. I was talking to the team earlier today. They thought it was, straight after the race. They believed it was a fuel pump issue. As I understand it from the team, it's just a fuel pickup issue. So they had enough fuel in the car. There have been some rumours that they had underfueled. They hadn't. There was enough fuel in the car. It wasn't even the pump. There was just a bit of an issue dragging that fuel out of the car. And part of that is because they only brought their final upgrade to that car on the last day of testing. They weren't able to test it with full race level, fuel race weights in it. And so when they got down to that much fuel in the car, just didn't have enough to pick it out. So they think they're on top of it. Should be good for this weekend. They've made some changes to the car. So if you're a Red Bull fan, hopefully it won't be squeaky bum time in the final few laps of the race. But talking about disappointments, Rosanna, McLaren, I know you spoke to Daniel Ricciardo today, and we're going to roll to that in a second, but huge disappointment for McLaren. Looked great after Barcelona. Bahrain test struggled, Bahrain race struggled way more than anyone expected.
Well, Lando warned us, didn't he? He did tell us not to read too much into it in Barcelona, said not to get overexcited, and unfortunately there was no excitement really in Bahrain for either driver. A lot of work to do, and I spoke to Daniel, as you say, earlier on, and I said, in the next race in Australia, there are going to be a lot of people hoping you guys have fixed this, but he doesn't think it's a problem that's going to be fixed anytime soon.
Wow. Well, why don't we hear from Daniel now after what was an incredibly disappointing start to the season for both him and Lando Norris.
Obviously, you guys haven't quite got the car underneath you at the moment. So what's the plan going into this weekend in Saudi and then further down the track as well?
It's, from a team, we have to, I think, stay together in terms of, I know that sounds kind of cliche, but we are not where we want to be right now, but I don't think it's race one. I think if we start pointing fingers, it's not going to help anyone. So we need to really, if this is now more than ever, is be together and figure out a plan of attack moving forward as a team, what direction to go, where to kind of rebuild the car or push for development. And, I think it's probably going to require a bit of patience, race to race now, the first few races. I don't think we're going to get overnight changes, but it's, there's still clearly stuff for me to learn and improve with the new car. So as much as I want to focus on helping the team, I got to, focus on myself as well and do the best I can do and try and, salvage some good results early on this season.
Thinking about Saudi Arabia again, have you been out on the track and had a little look at how the circuit has changed?
It's changed a little bit. I've actually haven't been around the track yet, but I've seen some little snapshots, and it's mainly the last corners widened a little. Otherwise, some of the walls have been moved back for it's more visibility, but I think the track will feel very similar from driving race lines, all that point of view. So it's quite dusty at the moment, but it'll clean up and it'll be all right. So it's a good track. It's fun, it's fast, it's intense. I like street circuits. Couldn't tell you if it's going to be good or not for us, but excited just to, let's say, go through the driving experience on this track.
Cracking interview, Rosanna.
Thanks very much. It was all Daniel.
Let us, while we're down here, talk about Alpine, but we're going to start with Aston Martin, two teams with very, very different races in Bahrain. Coming out of testing, a lot of people looked at that Aston and said, that's not a healthy car, it's not a happy car, the drivers don't look good in it, but their times looked all right, so there was some confusion as to where they'd be. They said, we think we're on a par with McLaren. Turned out that wasn't such a positive thing.
No, they were right. It's just not right where they want to be.
Yeah.
I think Aston, you commented when we were out trackside during testing, it just looked a handful, I think. Obviously these cars are heavier, so naturally everyone up the grid is experiencing that, but Aston were the ones people were really commenting on.
I think they're in the Mercedes mould of bad drivability, basically. Mercedes have got more performance, but they've got the same problems with the Ferrari Red Bull teams. Aston Martin have got the similar issues, but with the likes of Alpine and the rest of the midfielders, the car's on the edge, it's snappy to drive, it looks like it can lock up a front wheel very, very easily, and it's all down to this porpoising or bottoming and the challenge of basically setting the car up so that you've got the ground effect, you've got the car running very low, but you're not smashing it into the ground, basically.
And this is it. They can't run it as low as... None of the Mercedes teams seem able to run their car as low as they want, so they can't get those Venturi tunnels working as effectively as they need to.
And it does seem a little bit coincidental on that side, really, because they're in the same boat. Williams as well, in the same boat. The McLaren, to be honest, looks the more drivable, but they're just missing downforce and overall pace.
And brakes.
Let's
talk about Alpine quickly. There is Fernando. Double point score last time
Absolutely,
out. Great weekend for them.
Great weekend, and Oscar Piastri there as well. The full works going on.
Works.
Good weekend, but I think a lot of people being kind of given an easier ride, shall we say, because of the Red Bull DNF. So perhaps it looks a bit rosier than it should be for them, but you got to be there to get those points. But it's nice to know that Esteban Ocon will have the new spec side pod, because of course that went poof on the start-finish straight last weekend. And I guess that just shows the reliability element. They haven't got all the parts they need just yet. Such early days in the season, they're still tinkering with things. So yeah, you break something, you really pay for it, I think, at this early stage of the season.
Shows the rate of development though, doesn't it? First race weekend of the year, and Alpine with new parts on the car. As Rosanna said, both drivers will have that new upgraded side pod on their car this weekend. And I caught up with Fernando about an hour ago, actually, and he is very, very happy with how the team compared to their rivals in Bahrain, and said that really they were pretty much where they expected to be. Fernando, your reflections on the first competitive outing of 2022 in Bahrain?
I think Bahrain was interesting to see a little bit where every team stands at the moment. I think there are a couple of unknowns still, a couple of teams that they were very different and testing compared to the race one, like McLaren, for example. So I think we still need 4 or 5 races to make some judgment. But in terms of Alpine, our performance, we are happy, proud of achieving with both cars points in the first race. And now it's up to us, to make some progress in these new regulation cars.
Did things shake out as you were expecting, or, as you said, with McLaren quite not being as competitive as everyone was expecting, did that sort of raise you a bit higher?
I think we didn't have a clear picture of exactly where we were, so we were happy to take whatever result it came, and I think we were happy. We were happy to be in the top 10 in qualifying, and as I said, scoring with both cars. It was a tremendous job by everyone in Alpine. Pit stops, there are a lot of things that are new this year. Even if from the outside we only talk about the new cars and the new aerodynamics, there are a lot of challenges that the teams they need to overcome in very short period of time in winter. So I think we did a good job, and now we want more for sure.
To AlphaTauri now, and it was all looking so good, Jolyon, until it wasn't. We were looking like we were going to get an opening race with no retirements, and then Pierre Gasly's AlphaTauri let go in a pretty spectacular way.
Yeah, tough for him because he was actually having a good race, and as Rosanna said, that and the Red Bull retirements helped the likes of Alpine, and that's basically probably going to be their rivals this year, get a double points finish. But Yuki Tsunoda still got some points. The car still looks okay. Pierre was back in Q3, which I think they'd be very happy with for race one. So they're kind of where they were last year, maybe slightly further back on pace. Reliability is a question mark for them, as it is for Red Bull at the moment. But the car looks fine, basically.
Rosanna?
Hopefully the car looks fine, because they've been having to rebuild it. The poor mechanics have been putting in a shift.
The pace looks fine,
The
I should
pace
say.
looks
Yeah.
fine. I did ask him, actually. I caught up with Pierre earlier on and just said, you're going to be able to roll out in FP1, because that's the danger, isn't it? Early days in the season, haven't got all the bits to put it back together again, because it really did singe itself.
It did. I spoke to Jody Egginton, team's tech boss, earlier today. It was an instantaneous battery fire. No warning, nothing. Battery just let go. So obviously they need a new battery. They also need a new chassis, new gearbox, maybe power unit elements, possibly control electronics, you'd think.
And it's engine penalties later on in the year.
Exactly.
That's what they're kind of consigned to after just one race out of 23, which is harsh, but hey, that's what happens when you have a big blazing fire in race one.
That's it. Yuki Tsunoda, of course, scoring points, but Pierre Gasly, one of the headlines coming out of Bahrain, as Rosanna said. She spoke to him earlier.
And so off the back of Sunday, you guys said you've worked out what the problem was. Can you tell me what the problem was?
Yeah, I mean, there was like basically the problem with the battery, and the whole car switched off, and we obviously know that these cars are really hot, and yeah, when you park it with all these hot components, then yeah, it was enough to basically put the whole car on fire, and wasn't a great feeling, especially at that place of the track. I had some pretty bad images coming back in my mind, but yeah, luckily nothing happens. Just annoying to lose some good points, but we're gonna get them back here.
And is it something that's been fixed in inverted commas, or is it something that could happen again? Was it kind of problem?
I like to tell you it's all sorted, but the reality is that it takes a bit of time and process and development. So I'm sure there's gonna be action put in place to avoid as much as we can, but can't be 100% guarantee it won't happen again.
Off the back of a weekend like that, where you and the two Red Bulls failed to finish, do you guys have a call all together, AlphaTauri and Red Bull? Talk me through the sort of debrief program. About what happened with all three.
So it was different issue on my car and Max and Checo. So I know what's happened to them. They surely know what's happened to my car as well. But I think it's team's job to make sure that in terms of reliability we on top of everything, because at the end of the year it's going to make a big difference, and especially with these new cars we knew that there will be things happening. We were kind of confident that we had everything under control after the good testing we had, and motorsport brings you back, keeps you very humble all the time, and I'm confident we should have a better reliability this weekend. Yeah.
Now we've come all the way down to the far end of the paddock, to a team that I don't think is going to be all the way down the far end of the paddock come next season, Haas, with a sensational opening weekend in Bahrain.
It was a feel-good weekend for them, wasn't it? To see Kevin Magnussen back in the paddock with a smile on his face. I think we were all like, long may this last, because sometimes there's a bit of edge to Kev when we chat to him, but so full of beans, chatting about being back in Formula One. And actually, I asked him in the post-race show, are you approaching this second return back into Formula One differently? And he sort of said yes, it's a bit more fun, pressure's off, I think he's a bit more mature, and it's just been great watching all of that unfold, and what a weekend for them.
It's kind of like the unexpected Christmas present that you unwrap. You know, you might have asked for something that you wanted for Christmas, and then you get this great gift that you never thought you were going to get, and it's the best present that you get for Christmas. And that's what Kev had. You know, he had the Peugeot drive in the bag, he had the Ganassi drive, and then all of a sudden they're like, do you want to come back to Formula One? Not just that, but do you want to drive this rocket ship? And he's loving life.
He's had a smile glued to his face pretty much the entire time since he came back in that Bahrain test. I mean, yeah, what a present. To come back to Formula One, great. But the team were at the back last year and they weren't really racing. So is it going to be, all that fun for a driver that's been on the podium? Yeah, fifth. I mean, what a great result that first time. The car's quick. He's at the front of the midfield. He's racing with Lewis Hamilton on lap one. He's he's out qualifying George Russell's Mercedes.
Overtaking Perez.
It's brilliant, and this is what we want to see from K-Mag as well. He's aggressive, he loves to get stuck in, and I'm really pleased that he's got a car that can fight back in the top 10, because even his last year with Haas, him and Roman were at the back. So they've been on a bad trajectory. They're right back now.
As you say, Kev with the smile plastered all over his face. We were actually staying in the same hotel as the Haas guys. I spoke to Pete Croller, the team manager, this morning. Imagine that, post-COVID times, we're allowed to share hotels with other teams now. I haven't seen Pete Croller this happy in a good 18 months. And he's like, the only thing we're concerned about right now is reliability. So long as we can keep this car reliable, we've got a really good shot here. Like, we've got a really genuinely good chance. There's just such a great vibe here. But there's also a great vibe next door at Alfa Romeo, who looked good in testing, but no one dared to believe that it was quite as good as it actually was. Another team, both drivers in the points, Bottas with a sensational run.
They're really in the same boat. I think Haas and Alfa Romeo, they've come from the back, Haas off the back, Alfa Romeo at the back last year, flown to missed out all the rest of the midfield and just gone straight to the front of it, and they've both got really strong upper midfield podium finishing or race winning drivers. Valtteri can lead Alfa Romeo really nicely this year, and he showed it in qualifying already. Fantastic job last Saturday. The start to the race was not great for them. They've got some issues as a team, I think, to fix as well on the car.
It's oscillation with the clutch, so they've been struggling with that since testing, and that's what ultimately dropped both of them back at the start.
Yeah, Valtteri had a lot of wheel spin. He then had also quite a timid first lap, but the rest of the race was great. So we managed to get all that back basically by the checkered flag, and he's just a really fast driver. And so for both of them, they've got young teammates. Mick Schumacher at Haas can learn a lot, and Guan Yu Zhou can learn a lot from Valtteri.
And what a mentor for Guan Yu Zhou to have. I know you spoke to Guan Yu Zhou after the race last time. Points on debut.
I I think it was an incredible moment for him, and he alluded to sort of the difficulties perhaps he's had since signing for Formula One, and it was made a little bit harder. Oscar Piastri was my co-host on the post-race show, and of course Oscar Piastri perhaps should have a seat in Formula One as well. Wouldn't it be nice if we had more seats going round? But
a lot of people saying that Joe was only here because of his money,
exactly.
And he didn't deserve it because he finished third in F2 and all that.
And you kind of expect the winner of F2 to come up, and okay, that didn't happen this season, but I think Joe obviously had felt the pressure of that and felt slightly maybe embarrassed when people were saying why have you got the seat, and so I think he felt really proud of his efforts to get points and to slightly show people that yes, he does deserve to be here. That was a really nice moment. I think there's another big smile in the paddock at the moment. It's Fred Vasseur as well. Yeah. He's got a grin on his face, and I just think it's such an exciting time for these teams who have been struggling so much to be right up there in the battles.
Absolutely. Yeah, vindication for Guan Yu Zhou. Absolutely. Let's hear, though, from his teammate Valtteri Bottas. A lot to compute after that first weekend racing in new surroundings at Alfa Romeo, but proving once and for all he's lost none of his speed. Valtteri, an amazing first weekend for Alfa Romeo. When we left testing, did you have an idea that kind of a result would be possible?
To be honest, the testing was pretty compromised for us. Like, we got some good running, and when the car was running well in testing, we could feel and sense that it has potential. But then it was all about guessing where you are. So it was nice to see that actually, we came up pretty good, and we saw from practice sessions in the first weekend that we could potentially make it top 10 in the qualifying. We did P6 and both cars in top 10 on Sunday. It was really positive and motivating start for the team.
You've always been a great qualifier, but even you must have been a little surprised by Saturday.
I must say in Q2, because it was actually pretty tight that I got to Q3. I was like, okay, it's going to be not easy to make up many positions, but seeing P6, I was really pleased. So yeah, for sure there was an element of surprise, I think, for all of us.
And Sunday wasn't easy for you. It was a battling race after a really difficult start. Joe had a difficult start as well. Is there an issue that the team has got to get on top of with those starts?
It's been one of the biggest priorities, the race start. We have a kind of a mechanical issue that now we're trying to solve, how to avoid getting those oscillations on the clutch. Also from my side, I've looked into lap 1. I think there was things that I could have done better probably with the positioning, etc. But you live and learn. It's going to be this year so close that the starts lap 1s, they're going to be really crucial, and we need to get on top of our game on that. But I'm confident we can.
I guess one of the biggest questions got to be the first race weekend with the team. How much did you learn? Because obviously you've been with the team a little while, but it's really only until you're thrown into that intensity of a weekend's competition that you really start to learn how everything works.
Learning all the time, a lot, like getting used to things, and sometimes I also have some ideas that what if we do these kind of things like this, and so it's I feel like the whole team is evolving all the time, and it was nice to get the first one done, and we had a few days of time to analyze everything, and I'm sure we can operate even better this weekend.
That's the thing, to operate even better this week, but can you pull in the same kind of result? Is that the expectation, or do you feel perhaps having such a good start might lead to disappointment later?
We're looking ahead. We're trying to make sure that we keep progressing, not going backwards. That is the motivation for us, and we have great baseline car, good performance, but Jeddah is another challenge. It's a different type of track, very grippy tarmac, more high-speed corners, and actually, if I say of the car itself, one of the biggest weaknesses at the moment is the high-speed cornering performance. So it's going to be a good test for us how it performs here.
And if you're good at maths, you will realise there's just one team left, and that is Williams, who didn't have the easiest of weekends in terms of result, but I think there's a lot of positivity there.
I think both drivers are finding the new cars quite difficult to get on top of. I know that Nicky Latifi has spoken about how it wouldn't be his preference, the new setup, so he's having to sort of adapt the driving style. We've seen further up the grid, Charles Leclerc saying he's adapting his driving style, but a much safer, reliable car underneath him, whereas the Williams perhaps not quite as reliable yet, and so they're finding it a little harder. But I think a lot to take away from Bahrain.
And rolling into that, he's finding it really hard to turn the tyres on because of that, and that's really holding him back. But Albon, I mean, look, we didn't think Williams were going to get out of Q1. We thought they were going to be 19th and 20th on the grid, and there he is, firing into Q2. Great run from Alex, making the difference.
Yeah, vintage from Williams driver 1. I mean, is it Alex Albon in there, or is it George Russell? He picked up straight from where George left off. He's really settling well to the team. And yeah, got into Q2 and then had a really decent race as well. Good start, feisty opening lap, and yeah, just had a really good vibes from Alex Albon through the weekend, and the team really enjoy working with him. Latifi's going to have to probably raise his game because the new guy in the team is doing a great job.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. That brings us almost to the end of our show, apart from predictions for the weekend. Would you like to, ladies first?
Gosh, Jolyon, go on then.
You go. What?
See you later.
I mean, shots absolutely fired for Jolyon's first appearance.
Only because I'm flustered about my bold prediction.
Do you want to start?
Okay, I'll start.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not going to, you guys want me to do a crazy bold prediction, but
No,
I'm going to go with...
Dwayne, who's producing, wants you to do a crazy mad prediction.
Look, Carlos Sainz Redemption Day on Sunday, he's going to win, but that's not my bold prediction, that's just the sensible prediction.
Yeah.
Sainz, Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Leclerc from the race win, just off the podium. Bold prediction for everyone. Alex Albon going to get some points in the Williams, and a bit of maybe some reliability issues this weekend. Albon's through for some points.
You see, he's done us there.
Yeah, he's done me like a kipper.
That's comprehensive, isn't it?
Yeah, where'd you go with that one? Okay, I'm going to say Sergio Perez for the win. I've got to do something
You can see
different.
that we prepare this before we
sorry,
record.
Sergio,
It's
that's why I was
literally
trying
not on
to
the hoof
bat it off.
at all.
Okay, so Sergio Perez, then Carlos Sainz, then Max Verstappen. And I would like Schumacher to score points. That's not a bold prediction, that's a
That's
wish
what you want.
list.
A desire.
Yeah, that's a desire.
So I was going to say Max pole, but I agree with you. I think Carlos win, because a lot of people in the paddock are already talking about Charles for the World Championship and almost discounting Carlos. And I know that it's kind of got to Carlos a little bit over the last few days. He wants to swing back, and I think he will. He's not quite as happy with the car yet as Charles, but yeah, I got a really good feeling about Carlos this weekend. So I'm going to go with you as well, Carlos for the win. I don't know about the other two, but I'm going to say...
Your bold prediction is taking my unbold prediction at the moment.
I'm going to say Kevin Magnussen to finish higher than both Mercedes drivers.
Okay, I like that.
That's a nice little...
And on the basis of Bahrain, that's possibly not too bold. That's it for the weekend warm-up show. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. Join us all the way through the weekend here in Saudi Arabia. But for now, from Rosanna, from Jolyon, and from me, that is your lot.